meet someone in life where the connection just feels immediate? Like before you even fully know their story, you recognize their energy? Welcome to Storytime with Lori. Today's episode is really special to me because I'm sitting down with someone who's been a part of my journey for a very long time, Alicia Faust. Alicia and I met years ago at Teradata during a season where everything felt fast-moving, transformative, and honestly intense in the best way. We were deeply involved in helping take the organization to market through Salesforce integration, partner integrations, operational transformation, and completely rethinking how teams connected globally across the business. She was supporting the European organization, and I was supporting the US teams. And somewhere in the middle of all the deadlines, strategy sessions, constant pivots, and pressure that comes with transformation at scale, we connected really quickly. And honestly, one of the things I loved most about Alicia immediately was how unapologetically intelligent she was. Quick ideas, sharp instincts, strong voice, creative energy. She wasn't someone who sat quietly in the background waiting for permission to contribute. She made impact. I think women like that recognize each other, especially in environments where women often had to work twice as hard to be heard, respected, and taken seriously. But really what deepened our connection was the work we started doing together around DEI and the women of Teradata ERG. And honestly, that work mattered deeply to both of us because beyond the corporate titles, sales operations, transformation work, and the leadership responsibilities, we both cared deeply about creating spaces where people felt seen, represented, heard, and safe enough to show up fully as themselves, especially as women, especially as members of the LGBTQ community, especially in corporate environments where authenticity and inclusion still required courage. I think that's where she and I really bonded, because DEI work is not performative for people like us. It's personal. It's lived experiences. It's emotional labor. It's advocacy. It's making sure that people walking into rooms behind us feel less alone than we did. Alicia has always carried that kind of courage, not loudly, not for attention, just authentically, and with a little flair. Life has taken her through some incredibly difficult seasons since then. She's faced cancer with an unbelievable amount of resilience and grace. She's rebuilt herself in most ways most people never fully see. She started her own business. She's reinvented herself professionally and personally, and continued finding ways to create impact through every season life has handed to her. And honestly, those are my favorite kind of people to talk to. Not because they're perfect, because they're real. People who have walked through hard things usually carry a different kind of wisdom, a different kind of depth, a different relationship with life. And that's exactly the kind of conversation we're having today. Not just about careers, not just about success, about identity, resilience, reinvention, leadership, survival, authenticity, belonging, and what it really means to keep becoming yourself through every season life hands you. So, whether you're listening from whether you're driving, walking, traveling, sitting with your coffee, quietly navigating your own season of becoming, I'm glad you're here for this one. This is Storytime with Lori. Alicia, thank you for being here with me today. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you, Laurie. I'm really happy to be here too. That was quite an introduction. I have to say, I teared up a little bit, and I've been watching your videos, and I know that other women have said the same thing, that the introduction has actually brought tears to my eyes. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you for being you. That is who you are, my girl. That is who you are. And that is the impact that you have made on so many people. So I'm glad that I have this opportunity to showcase your story and who you are and the impact that you've made and that you're looking to make. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Laura. I really, really like this podcast. I just want to say that as well, that, the bravery for people to come on and talk about the messy bits behind the job titles, beyond kind of you're the big boss in the room, like what's really going on. It's so important so that people that are entering the workforce can sort of understand that you don't have to be perfect, that it's all a navigation, especially for young people coming into work. So I think it's really important. So thank you for creating it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And that was the intention behind it. I was going through a really fucking hard, raw, like, how am I going to survive? Single mama, house payment. I've got
Mm,
nobody. And I'm like, how am I going to, like, this is real. And I was managing it was one of the largest pieces of my career. And I'm just exhausted. What am I going to do? And I'm like, God, there's other people just like me. And they're okay.
yeah.
Day by day, like people are just, it's hard. And then you're expected to show up and be like, okay, everybody. And you're like, fuck you, man. Like, I don't want to. It's too hard. And you're like, okay, but I made it today. And it's also being I'm so close to so many different types of businesses and so much operations. You and I have been in the guts of the operation,
Yeah.
and there's so many emotions with it because you're changing things and just people are raw. And then you add all this other stuff that's going on in your life, and you're like, okay, I need to catch a break. I'm trying to be a powerhouse all at the same time, and
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard.
It really is hard. And I just want to say, you've hit on something that I just came off a volunteer meeting. So I volunteer for an organization called Pride Wide, and we were talking about how emotional operations is. It's a really, really emotional space, and I don't think that's often acknowledged.
Jesus, no, it isn't. It is like it is like psychology 101, and then it's so political, and you're just like, God,
Yes.
can somebody just make a decision so we could go forward?
Yes.
And your baby's not ugly. We're just trying to make it more pretty.
More efficient, and we're trying to help you guys communicate better. That's what we're trying to
Yes.
do. Better
Yeah.
communication, more
Yeah.
efficiency, better
Yeah.
value. That's it.
Yeah. Oh man, it is rough, but I like watching you transform as well. And I think for us, we had that bond too of just we were in the trenches. I loved your voice. I was like, yes, another strong. And because there's not a lot of females in the room, and then you've got a lot of men, and then you got egos, and you're just like, no, I got a voice, and I'm the one that's doing it all already, and you're like, no, no, no. But then there's just a finesse with it too, and then I found out that we're LGBTQ and part of the community, and the impact that we want to make using our platforms and our own voices and our own experiences. So it was bonding. And we've seen each other morph into different careers, and we're still champions of each other, and life comes at us in different ways. You've reinvented yourself, and you've touched a lot of different ways. So I want to get into a little bit about your background, and have
Great.
you shared a little bit of your story with the audience?
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, we met at Teradata, right? And I have to say, the time that we met at Teradata was the best point in my career. Like, and I think just kind of that energy of changing really quickly, of having kind of support all around to create that change. I had the best sponsors, the best leadership, the best mentors that I've ever had in my career. So it was a really foundational time for me. And it was also the time when I learned to start talking about my own work really differently. So, kind of before that point, I was always talking about what the team delivered, kind of going into list and this is what we do, this is what we do. That was the point where I started talking about the impact we made on revenue streams, on commercializations to leaders where those were their main concerns, right? So, kind of right around when we met is when I started learning how to talk in a way that leadership really, really understood. So, I think it's quite interesting that kind of you're highlighting my voice in that room. And I always put it down to I was really passionate about the topic, but I had had a fundamental shift about 6 months before we met where I learned to talk about the way I showed up at work so differently. So it was really, really exciting time for me. And I love sales. I love sales operations. I love working with salespeople. I loved all that flow. But what I knew at my time with Teradata, because I was there for nearly 10 years, is that I didn't have a view of startups. I didn't have a view of private equity. I was quite limited in what I knew about work. And so I left Teradata and joined a startup. And then after that, I went and joined a company that does private equity, that was funded by private equity. And both of those were really interesting experiences because they had challenges where I had just come from the best environment of my career down into kind of startups, into private equity businesses. And there were really, really, really big challenges. But my learning curve was astronomical. So while it was tough, I learned a lot about what leadership cares about and
Uh-huh.
how to show up at work. And from that, I was absolutely inspired to share those skills with other women and LGBTQI plus professionals, which is
Uh-huh.
what I've built my business on, is helping women and LGBTQI plus people use sales methodology and impact language to actually advance their own careers, whether that's going for promotion or new jobs, or they're ready to leave corporate or where they are altogether and become a founder themselves. So that's a bit of my work background.
Yeah, yeah. I want to touch upon a couple of things there. First, I want to go back to you're like, hey, 6 months before you got there, I was really working on how I portrayed my pitch, my language, how I showed up. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that because
Yeah.
people want to get there, but they're like, okay, how do I do it? Somebody said, okay, hey, go work on it. You're like, okay, okay, but
What do you do?
how? Yes, what's the how? What did you do?
So the first thing, I had a fantastic leader, and he said, "You need a better brand." I didn't know what that meant, right? So this is before everyone had a personal brand. And what I realized is that I hadn't been promoted in quite a long time, and I really wanted to be promoted, and I didn't understand why I wasn't going for leadership roles. And I think it was getting closer to the sales team and really thinking about how they approached customers. They approached customers from the customer's problem first, not from all the bells and whistles of the product that we were delivering. And so I sort of took that on. I said, right, let me think about the problems that the person I want to notice me is carrying. What are they going through? What are they responsible for? What's not working for them? And what of that can I solve? What can I take away from their kind of list of worries and the things that they're doing? And that fundamental shift of putting the other person first, and I know it sounds really, really simple, but it means that I got out of saying, I've done this, I've done that, why aren't you giving me a promotion? To saying, I understand that these three things are really top priorities for you. I understand that they're heavy for you. I think I can take two of those away from you. Let me show you how. And
Uh-huh.
that's how I started getting into rooms and people started listening to me because I said, I think I've got a solution for you.
Yeah.
And it was just that shift. It was that shift. It was sort of, I think my whole life I've kind of always been a volunteer and always thought about other people first, but I didn't know how to translate that into my work life. And I kind of felt like I almost needed permission to do that because the standard way of talking about ourselves at work is to list what we've done because that's what everyone else does. But actually, once I started looking at leadership, listening to what they were saying, listening to their problems, their challenges, their frustrations, they
Uh-huh.
started inviting me into the room to help them solve that. And that's when I started getting rapidly promoted and finding new opportunities, getting, kind of time to work on our Women of Teradata initiatives, getting time to be part of the advisory board. It just absolutely skyrocketed my promotion and my career trajectory.
Mm-hmm. I owe a lot to that company as well. I felt the same way. It's interesting to hear your experience on, well, I always knew your experience at EMEA because they have a dream team over there. In the Americas, it was not. We had, it was,
Challenges. There's my nice way of saying that. Do you like
yes,
it?
yes, yes. It was a constant shift in leadership at every level, every year, and there was no stability, every different methodology. No one was on first base, lots of politics. But then I had leaders where they'd be like, okay, well, what do you want? I want a director title. I want to continue my path. In 2 years, I'm like, up yours. Like, no way. I'm not moving this way. I need
Yeah.
to go. You're being my blocker right now. You're not seeing all this other stuff. You have to maneuver the big beast. And it was a gigantic company. I don't want you to block it because you're not seeing it. So I had to go advocate for myself and then put myself in different scenarios. And that was what was so lovely there is there was so much different opportunity and I was
Yes.
thrown into so many different projects. And then all of a sudden I get where I want to go. I get exposure. I had to advocate for myself in that time. But I think about being a part of the ERG and then having it was International Women's Month and then or excuse me International Women's Day and then I had 800 people listening to me moderate a
Yes.
session. I was like, "Holy shit. Oh my God."
Fantastic, wasn't it?
Thank you. Yes, and oh my God, the nerves that I had with it and just I was pushed outside of my comfort zone. I asked for it and it was like, okay, girl, here I just wanted to be on the team. They're like, no, you are up there and you're going to do a
Yes.
high dive and swan and get
You're
to it.
now renting and facilitating a session with really important people. The entire
Yes.
company is watching you. You've asked for it. And look, if that was the first wading into a big audience, and now you're hosting a regular podcast and building your own kind of life around exactly that thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was reflecting on this the other day. In college, I was a communication major and I didn't know what part. I know I didn't want to write. I didn't want to be in PR. My grandma was at the grocery store and she's, oh, come to, work at, come meet our PR. And I was like, I don't want to write.
Yeah.
And then, I had to do all this broadcasting. I was like, hell no, I could never do it. And then I was thrusted into, at Verizon. They're like, hey, we're having Winter Circle down in San Diego. We had gone through three different companies, all the big wigs, three acquisitions all at the same time. My friend's like, hey, you're coming, but you're going to be with the media and you're going to go around interviewing everyone. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got the wrong person. And they're like,
Nope.
no, we don't. And I'm
We
like,
don't
yeah,
have the wrong person, Lori. You've got it. You've got
yeah.
it.
And I was like, can I have some cocktails? They're like, no. And I'm like,
No.
oh, good. But then it kind of evolved. And then I was working for a video company and we'd have to do videos every week of saying, hey, what did we do? And it was so efficient. And then all of a sudden, I could use this for my branding. Because
Yeah.
same thing to you. Well, what's your brand? And you're like, what do you mean, what's my brand? I'm doing all this stuff. Here's my resume. What? Now you want me to go work on my brand? And now I got to do
Yes.
marketing on top of it? Jesus. But then you're like,
Yes, you
okay,
do
well,
have to do marketing in your career. You have to, not only do you have to advocate for yourself, because I think what we just said is really two sides of the puzzle, right? So on the one, you have to build up your brand and define what that's going to be for your leadership and the people that have influence to actually move you along on your career progression. The other thing you have to do is to advocate for yourself, especially when you've got leadership that's blocking you. And doing both of those things, it's kind of like the side project to having a corporate career, right?
yes. Yep. Now let's talk about you and your branding because you always had a lot of curiosity as well. You got your doctorate. Then you shifted over to, and I love going to private equity because that is,
A
you
wake
have
up
to talk
call.
about it. Yes, that is hard. If you go through it once, I'm sure you don't want to go through it again. It
Nope.
is cutthroat. And then you went to a startup environment, which I love a startup environment. I'm in an established company, but it feels like a startup because we're
Yeah.
starting like fresh in channel. Everything is a greenfield. So it's so cool. But I love that. But let's talk about branding and shifting that and stepping into those situations where you're looking at that. You develop so much from that, from your own company, who you
Yeah.
are, and you really put your own self through that. So let's talk a little bit about that so people understand what does branding look like and reconfiguring yourself all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what does branding look like is a really good question. So, I do not have a background in marketing, right? That is not my forte at all. But I think for me, part of the branding was leaning into the strengths that I had and not sort of focusing on the weaknesses anymore. And one of the things you kindly said in your introduction was around my intelligence, right? This was something that in my kind of corporate career was not always responded to well. And of course, we know that kind of when women are intelligent, when they're sure of themselves, they're not playing the right gender role that they're supposed to be playing in some environments. And this can actually hurt you, right? Because
Yes.
you're not playing that. And I think when I started thinking about my own branding, I want to work with the women who have been labeled intelligent, have been labeled bossy, too much, too opinionated. Those are my ideal clients. Those are the people I want to work with because I understand the struggles of being the smart person, the passionate person, the capable person, and just being knocked back by people. And I understand the frustration of that, especially when it's coming from people that you're kind of like, I can do your job, standing on my head, but I've not been given the opportunity to do that. So I think I took on board for my own branding kind of those core values that I had. Like I know I'm smart, I know I'm really capable, but I've also learned a lot about myself. I don't want to work for other people anymore. I want to be the one calling the shots. I want to be creating partnerships and collaboration opportunities. But kind of especially after the cancer and coming back from that, I found my tolerance to be made small had gotten really, really small. Like my tolerance for it was just no. So in 2024, when I started thinking about my business and my branding, that's exactly what I did. I looked at my strengths, I looked at what I brought to the table, and I really thought about how it could apply to women's careers and their own kind of career progression. Because as we all know, the job market right now is really, really stressful. We're in a cost of living crisis. The unemployment rate is going up. People are having to work kind of one or two or three jobs. The other thing we know is that if you're not kind of building your own brand on LinkedIn, even as a full-time employee, that you're not likely to make the connections and not likely to even get in the room to have a job interview. So it's like, I can apply what I've learned to help women further their own careers in whichever way they want to. And then you get to play, right? Then you get to go, what color are things? How does this look? How does it feel? And I had quite a few iterations of things. Like if you look at my Canva, it's like it went from bad to kind of better to better, 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 right? It's an iterative process to figure out
Absolutely.
what it looks like and what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the colors of that I've got in my own brand, they're from my sunglasses. Like I have like pink and blue sunglasses, and that's at the end what I went with as my brand.
I love it. Hey. Well, you are a fashionista, and I want to touch on a couple of things, especially for the younger generation as they're getting
Yeah.
ready to step in, and it's hard right now, and I feel like a lot of this stuff is because it's like we're aged. We've experienced, this is the learning lessons of experience and the scenarios that we've had to bob and weave through. But for the
Yeah.
younger generation, how do we give them the strength of, because, and this is where I'm trying to shift mindset for the younger generation of, you have so much to offer. You grew up around technology. You're faster. You can incorporate it. You have a different mindset, and there's so much that we can learn from each other. And it, like you said, I only want to work with the people where you're vibing with. So
Yeah.
how do we arm this younger generation as they're stepping into a really tough time with lots of layoffs, an economy that is trash, political strife? What's your encouragement for this younger generation?
So the biggest piece of advice that I would give is to build a very small trusted group of people that's going to go on the journey with you. So like at Teradata, we had the women's ERG, and it really kind of got hold as the COVID pandemic broke out. But instead of kind of going like, well, we can't possibly do that, we just went fully digital, and we actually spent more time together. It was before the days where we had back-to-back meetings all the time, so we actually had time to work, and we spent time together. And in
Yeah.
that, we supported each other. We talked about things that weren't just about the ERG. I think those opportunities in corporate aren't there as much from a kind of a structured way. So I would say find like 5 other people who are at the same point as you are in your career, that you trust, that you can speak really openly to. So you can talk about salary, you can talk
Yep.
about the way you're being treated at work, you can seek advice. If there's something you as a group don't know or can't figure out, reach out to people like me, like you, Lori. Could you come and talk to us about this? I think that's the best way to bolster yourself. And then commit to talking once a week together. Just every week, no set agenda. You come in and you share what's going on with you. You share your lows, you share your highs, you ask for advice. It's the best thing I think people can do for themselves, is to build that trusted group of people around them.
Yep, agreed, agreed. That's great advice. I really like that. And I think it gives a sense of community as well. Okay, I'm not the only one that's experiencing this, because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I don't know if this is normal. You hear things, you see things, but you're like, okay, is this norm? But
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
the second part is maybe one layer above. Find your group outside of that.
Yes.
And
Oh,
one layer
find your group
above,
outside of that. Yeah.
because it's what's coming next for you. It gives you a sense of what comes next, how to think about what's next. You're getting comfy right now, but you're gonna you're gonna get stale, and then you're gonna want to know. You've got the people like that are already eager. Well, I already want to be on third base, but you're like, okay, buddy, you got to get to first.
This
So
is how you get to first, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And I think think the good thing right now is that there's actually quite a lot of creators who have like been through the work and they're kind of in their 40s and their 50s and they're giving out free advice. And there's a lot of incredible women out there that are sharing things really openly and kind of career pitfalls. So I'd say if you have to get on social media, I have a lot of opinions about social media and how your imagination and brain are better. But look for those people. Like they're creating the content out there that's actually meant to lift you up. Um, yeah. And I think the other kind of point I was going to say is that a lot of the way that we learned how to show up to work was because we had to go to the office 5 days a week. And so many roles now are remote or they're hybrid. So you're not getting to overhear the conversations. You're not getting to understand like why so and so is getting so much recognition because you've been alone in your office and that's all happening somewhere else. It's just another reason to build up that trusted group around you so that you feel connected all the time. And I would absolutely say, while you might build a trusted group within the organization you're in, the main focus is to build it with people that are outside of that organization. So it's
Yes.
really trusted, really kind of confidential, can't harm you to be open and honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Especially outside of the organization, there's so much wisdom that comes from it. Just extra nuggets, I feel like. One other piece that I'd like to offer up to the younger generation that's listening in is reaching out to people and being like, "Hey, would you like share time with me? Shoot your shot."
Yeah.
A lot of us get a little bit nervous, but so many people have helped us and paved the way for us. It's a way that we want to give back. So I feel like, oh my gosh, people probably reach out all the time. No, go
I
for it.
love it. I love it. When people come into my DMs and ask me a question on LinkedIn, I absolutely love
You
it. And if
bet.
I don't
You
know the
bet.
answer to it, so it's specific to an industry or something, I will make a soft introduction over LinkedIn and say, this is the person I think that can answer that question for you. Now is the time for kind of just bravery and just reaching out and not paying attention to titles because we love it when people come and ask us questions.
Yep, exactly. Titles, I mean, yes, titles matter some, but titles don't. Still like we're all people. We're all
Yeah.
people looking for to be seen.
Yeah, yeah. And titles are very dependent on the organization itself and the size of the organization. So a VP of a company that's got 25 people is very different from a VP that has a company of 10,000 people, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
very different. Very, very different. Well, let's get into allyship and what that looks like in work because I think those go hand in hand. We've got to have inclusion. You got to have your surrounding people inside, outside. Let's say
Yeah.
that we work on all of that. Let's talk about allyship. When I was at Teradata, I dropped into a new role and all of a sudden I had to become really technical. And I'm like,
Mm.
that is not me, not at all. But I could give me my 8 slides, I'll be dangerous with those. But then
Yes.
I had an ally on the backside and we were like yin and yang. He was like my technical guy and he's like, you're my sales girl. I could not have been successful without him. And having that allyship, knowing my strengths, my weaknesses, knowing his. He's like, I don't like that. You're so good there. We had that synergy. And I feel and I know I would not have been as successful as I would not without my ally in my corner. I
Yeah.
want to talk about the power of allyship and your thoughts around it. Maybe some of the examples that you've gone through where you're like, hey, I could not have had this amazing point without one of my allies and share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, I think allyship is a really interesting concept because I don't think it's one that people necessarily understand. Like, I think allyship is active and it's not passive. And that's the main thing. So you're a supporter if you're a bit passive. You might support the LGBTQI plus community or women within your organization. But if you're not actually doing anything to actively do that, that's just support and that's not allyship. I think the best ally that I ever had was in 2017 when Ian Matthews came to Teradata. He was like Tigger. His energy was infectious, and like you, he had the technical skills that I didn't have yet. And he gave me unlimited time for it. But his whole mission, because of course he was my boss as well, his whole mission was to create me as an independent, well-rounded employee that could stand on my own 2 feet. that was his mission for his entire team. So he would he could have like a war room going on and like all the big VPs on the call. And I could stick my head around the corner and go, I need to know how to create this report in Salesforce because I just don't know how to do it. So I think, yeah, that's what I think about when I think like kind of work allyship is somebody that wants the best for you, that sort of says, I can see your weaknesses, but that's not a problem. Those are weaknesses you can overcome, and we can do that together, right?
So important. And it's so important to continue that, recognize it, and nurture that all at the same time. That was so
Yeah,
beautiful. You got to see that, that partnership and your growth because of it. That is
absolutely.
so important when you've got, like you said, like he was. Yes, he was your manager, but then there was so much more investment outside of just, okay, Alicia,
Let's do your performance review and let's, yeah,
there was like real investment there and real support, and that's there's a lot of layers to that because it's not just like, hey, let me show you some Excel here and can you run a pivot table and a VLOOKUP, like, thank you.
yeah,
But no, there's more to it. He got in with the emotional side and you're connected, and it's getting to know each other as people. I think
yeah,
that is the number
absolutely.
one piece to everything, and especially a strong allyship is the investment on both sides because you work harder, you continue to promote, but then that's infectious. Like that just, you carry that forward. And we need more allyships. We need more sponsors. I think those allyships
Yeah.
also turn into sponsorships. They're helping you in that, but they're also sponsoring you. And it's that whole domino effect and opening doors and saying your
Yeah,
name
and
when
let's talk about what a
there.
sponsor is, because I probably used the word sponsor, well, I didn't quite mean it. But a sponsor, of course, is somebody who advocates for you when you're not in the room, right? They've got a seat at the table, a problem has come up. So my whole world works in problem and solution. They're the ones that say, I think this person would be ideal for this project. Let's bring Lori in. Let's put her in front of all of the employees on the Equality Summit and have her facilitate a session. Like, that's really good sponsorship. They find you those opportunities because they're sat in the room and you're not. So I think allyship is really great for colleagues and things like that. But I think when you need a sponsor is when you've solved some problems for that person already. They trust you. You've built up that trust with them. They can be kind of really open and transparent with you, and you can with them as well. And then they recommend you for the next stage and the next stage.
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. And gosh, I wouldn't be here without sponsors,
I don't
especially
think you
coming
can get
into that.
promoted without sponsors.
You
Like you
can't. It's
mentors focus on teaching you skills and specific things, but I don't think like without people that have influence that can bring your name up as a solution and know that you're going to deliver and be there to help you deliver if you stumble so that you don't kind of fall over into that new kind of area that you've gone into, you cannot get promoted without a sponsor.
let's talk about people are probably like, okay, well, how do I get a sponsor? Part of
Yes.
that is asking for projects outside
Yes.
of what your typical job duties are and saying, okay, hey, I really want to get to my next level. I know I need to go work on another project. Can you help me? Who do you admire in the company? Who do you want to go work with? Or maybe who do you not want to work with? Or
Yes. That's good to know too.
where or yeah, or where are some of the weaknesses? Like for me, finance was a big weakness. I'm around numbers all the time, but then when I'm hearing earnings releases and they're like bing, 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 I'm like, oh, time out.
Yeah.
Let me go hook up with finance and please, like, slow it down for me. Putting yourself in these situations where somebody else beside your manager gets privy to who you are, how you show up, and asking for it.
Yeah. I
That's a
think
sponsor.
I think yeah, exactly. That is a sponsor. And I think the way that you get a sponsor is by understanding that person's problems and trying to think of a solution for them. So get really, really curious about what their burden is, what keeps them up at night, and then consider how you could solve it. And you don't go all in and kind of go like, would you please be my sponsor? I want to show you a solution. The better thing to do is kind of, if you're on a call, something's come up, you go, could I show you something that I think might work for that? Do you have 5 minutes for me to show you that? And if they go, great, and they go, this is brilliant, let's do it, let's talk more about it, then you've started to build up that relationship. So a sponsor, it's a very organic relationship, but I do think it's built on you understanding what their problems are and helping them solve them. And if you've got to
Absolutely.
upskill before you can go and present that solution, go and upskill.
Yeah, don't be afraid to talk to your manager about it of like,
Yeah.
hey, here's my idea.
Yes. Can
This
you
is
help me
also
bring this to fruition so I can get 5 minutes to
yes.
show it? Yep.
Yes. Am I missing anything? Here's what I'm trying to do. And because again, the more people that are being your champions and your sponsors, your mentors, your boss, the better.
Yeah.
Again, it's investment into yourself and how you take all those, whether it's a shortcoming, you're like, oh man, I missed that one,
Yes.
or you
Yes.
swung it out of the park and you're like, yeah, it's a team effort nowadays.
It absolutely is. And I think
Yeah.
the other thing, like, there is some risk to it, right? There is some risk into looking for a sponsor because if you're in part of a team and you start to get noticed because you're presenting those types of solutions, you also have to consider how to manage that some people may not be entirely happy for you. And not everyone's going to like you for doing that. And that's again why I think it's really important to have a core community outside of the company that you can
Mm-hmm.
take that to and consider like solutions for making sure as much as you can that you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to rub someone the wrong way on your own team. But on the other side of it, we're all really different people. And if your natural curiosity is trying to problem solve, I would say keep going with that because that's going to bring you joy rather than making yourself smaller, not to rock the boat
Mm-hmm.
on a team. But it's just, there is a risk when kind of starting to stand out in a company. And that risk is often that not everyone loves that you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard. It really is it's a hard spot to be in because all of a sudden there's not a lot of people that look like us. And
Yeah.
then all then the jealousy, the just like either you're adding more work, that idea comes like,
Yeah.
maybe they were sitting on that idea and then you finally had the courage to do it. There could
Yep.
be any scenario that you can imagine. So just then the politics along with it. And
Dixon companies are a whole other kettle of fish. And I think the closer I got to the sun, the more I realized that the politics were harder and harder as you go up. So as you move up
yes.
in your career, as the stakes get higher, as people have more responsibility, they're carrying kind of maybe reputational risk, they're carrying financial risk. The politics get more and more
Mhm.
exacerbated and it can be quite intimidating.
Mhm.
But I still think that if you go in curious and problem solving,
Mhm.
advocating for yourself on your ideas and trying to take some of that personal stuff. A lot of us like to go like, oh, I'm going to blame that person for the politics, or I'm going to blame that person for the bad environment. I think it's much better to try to, as much as you can, become indifferent to personalities and go, we have a problem here. Let's focus on the solution again and again. It works sometimes, but other times
Mhm.
it doesn't work because people want to invest in the politics instead.
Mhm. Oh, politics, inside and
Yep.
outside. They're ugly. They're ugly all around. um, I want to touch on ERG groups because I think that this
Yeah.
is another great way for young people or not young people because it's not a young person's group. First off, an ERG is an employee resource group. And large companies, small companies, they'll start their inclusion groups, and it's there were a few with Teradata. We had a
Hmm.
Black community, we had a LGBTQ community, we had a women's group. I forgot the other ones. I
We had
think
a
we had like
veterans group as well. I think we had about 8 in
eight.
total.
Yeah, I think there were
Yeah.
eight strong ones, and it was a global piece. And I think
Yeah.
what was we've been touching upon finding your group, finding your tribe, and when you're in having people on your side in different parts of the business, it there that also helps create those sponsors because you have different people that get to know you outside of just
Yes.
your work, and it also gives you a community where you're like, okay, like, well, I didn't know that there was a lot of these gay people here at work. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know.
Exactly.
You're like, okay. But it gives you that safe, especially at work, because work can be, not all companies are the best. And then
Yeah.
some companies are the best and some are in transformation. But having those groups, those really mean a lot. And they're
Yeah.
very impactful. So let's talk about where ERGs really make impact in your thoughts around that, Alicia.
So I think ERGs need to be supported at sea level, right? I
Mhm.
think that's number one. If you want to have an impact on the culture and the environment, it needs to be supported at sea level, respected, listened to. And that's really kind of key, because you could have like, some really great employees in an ERG, but if there's no desire to listen to that group of people and their viewpoint, it can actually burn you out at work faster than if it wasn't there at all. So I think that's number one, is that companies need a system to support and have a listening ear to what those groups have to say. Because I've seen some amazing things happen because the door was open, the ears were open, listening happened. I've seen kind of pay disparity be resolved because of the
Yes.
activism of those groups. I've seen kind of start talking to salespeople about some of your clients are women and the behaviors you're distributing would probably not make that client want to buy from us as a company. So let's talk about the unconscious bias that you're carrying
Yes.
into the room. And that is another initiative that I've seen coming from a women's ERG. So you can have really, really great impact. But if it's not supported by your boss's 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 boss, I
Yes.
think it can also be a really frustrating experience to be in an ERG, because then you're just kind of hanging out, having coffee mornings and things
Yeah.
like that. But which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But if what you want to do is make an impact and improve the culture of the company, that support is absolutely key. And if that's the case, that's the best environment you can hope for, right? Like, it's so much fun. You get to work with people from all over the world that have something in common, that's something they're passionate about in their kind of private life and their professional life. And you get to meet amazing people like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was
It
pretty
was.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
really cool. When I think back
Yeah.
on it, it was sort of like International Women's Day. Kind of we had a bit of an event in Europe, and then COVID hit, and we just
It
were
was,
like,
it was
well,
like,
now
we're
what are we going to
on
do? We've
to the
just
next day.
relaunched. We just relaunched this, the EMEA version of the Women of Teradata. Now what are we going to do? And we were just like, let's do a big event.
Yeah, yeah, it was. But that was like the power of creativity and like not giving up either of like
Yeah.
knowing the energy, the synergy, the special sauce that was happening. Each person was so invested in it,
Yeah.
and that was because leadership was doing it right. It was on the C-level. We had all C-level executive sponsors with each of the groups.
Yep.
So they took it serious. And,
They
and,
did.
and for the companies that aren't doing it or you don't have that, seek that outside of your current company or
Yeah.
take that's another great thing to take up to leadership of like, hey, why would we not want to start this? Because when
Yeah.
you look at successful companies, it's people first. When you've got connected tissue with your people, they will produce outside of the norm. So
Yeah.
invest in
Yeah.
that.
Or you can
Yeah.
volunteer. Like, I'm a really big advocate of, if there's something that you're not getting in your corporate life, and that could be a skill, that could be a sense of belonging, you can volunteer and become kind of part of these organizations that are looking to have an impact on your local community or even wider communities. Like, I love volunteering. I spent 9 years volunteering for the Women's Equality Party in the UK. I've spent 2 years now volunteering, no, maybe a year and a half, volunteering for Pride Wide. And we, by the way, are about to launch our first massive campaign in London tomorrow. So by the
Ah,
time this airs, that will already be live. But it's so much fun, and you get to meet people that like. I'm meeting PR people, I'm meeting broadcasters, I'm meeting journalists, like people that I just would not come into contact with. And so if your kind of work is a bit like, I love dealing with data all day, but this company's not for me, go volunteer.
yeah, yeah. Oh, because well, and that you gotta just figure out what that means to have that, especially if
Yeah,
you're in like hard situations and you're like, okay, well, what's fueling me? Whether it's going to work with animals, whether it's going to work in the community at Pride, and like
yeah.
find what fuels you and helps bring you back to a little bit of that balance.
Yeah, exactly. Because one of the things
Yeah.
I love about the generation that's now entering the workforce is they want balance. They're
Yes.
demanding balance. I absolutely love it. I love to see it. And I think we've going through a really pretty big culture shift. Like, when you and I
Yes.
started working, you went to a company, you really started to identify with that company. You were in it for the
Yeah.
long haul.
Yeah.
This is a time when people like had jobs for 30, 40, 50
Yeah.
years. They
Yeah.
retired
You
for those
gotta go so I can
companies.
get promoted, man.
Yes, exactly. So that's the
Like
time that
it's
we joined the
time.
workforce. And so it was so important for that culture to kind of be everything, because you really were involved with that kind of place of work. Whereas things have really shifted now. And while you want to have a comfortable, a happy, a productive, and efficient workforce, people also want to have their lives. They want their families, they want their hobbies, they do want to go out and volunteer, they want to be creative, they want to eat food, and they want to be healthy and get to work out. So there's probably a lot of the things that we're saying that maybe someone who's like 21 is like, oh God, this is so obvious.
Yeah, maybe not, but I do like now we've got millennial buyers that have completely shifted it too, and I like this balance, but it's also, well, hey, you got to brace. It's a weird time.
Yeah.
It's a weird time
In
around.
some ways, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm absolutely
Yes,
loving it.
yes. Well, let's talk about where you, right before we got on here, we were talking about balance and
Yes.
water and this new chapter. You want to share a little bit about where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I moved to the southeast coast of England about 8 weeks ago. So I've been in London for nearly 9 years, and we decided last year that it was time to go. You know, part of kind of my London life was really built on going to the office every day and traveling in every day and all of that. And since COVID, that kind of all stopped. And then I took jobs that were kind of fully remote. And so we came down for a long weekend last year, and we were walking along, walking by the beach. And my wife said, I've always wanted to live near the sea. And I was like, I've always wanted to live near the sea. And so we were like, okay, well, maybe we'll do that someday. And I was like, we work
Why?
remotely. Why should we wait to do that? So yeah, so it took a solid year to find and buy a house, because that process is a whole thing we can go through on another podcast. But we've been here for 8 weeks. There's currently a heat wave in the UK, and I get to go out every single day, and it's literally a 10-minute walk to get to the beach, to put my feet in freezing cold water. This is not water you can go and swim in right now, but it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful to get to go out and listen to the waves and to actually get my body in that water. It's made me really inspired to be healthier, to, you know, my energy levels are a lot higher than they've been in such a long time. And I don't think that's just the weather. It's just that I know right outside my door, the sea is there. And I just have to kind of toddle down the path and go and look at it for a bit. Yeah, so we're doing more cycling. We're building up to swimming in the sea, more outdoors, more walking. It's really, really brilliant.
Oh, that's amazing. Being by the ocean or any sort of body of water is so good for the soul, especially with maneuvering through your cancer diagnosis
Yeah.
and just being like, well, why are we not doing it? It's just
Like, why
stirring
don't we
and
do that? Why are we in this city that's like too hot in the summer and freezing cold and feeling congested to us and feeling dirty
yeah,
to us now? Like, just this sort of evolution happened. And I
yeah,
do like the cancer thing. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January of 2023, roughly about 4 months into my new job at the private equity company that I was with. And that was that the really funny thing about me is that in a lot of ways I have this superpower. When you tell me something bad or something negative's going on, I don't react at all, right? I just go like, okay, that's the thing that's happening. What are the next steps? How are we going to get through that? That's fine. So I was told I had breast cancer. My poor wife was not in good shape that evening after we got back
yeah,
from the appointment. But I was like, hey, this is going to be fine. It's very clear. We're going to do surgery, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen. I was like, in my mind, I thought this was just like any other thing. And then I had complications during the surgery, which required me to have a secondary emergency surgery the very next day. Those two surgeries back to back depleted my muscle mass and my like physicality so much. And then on top of that, I had to start taking estrogen blockers. So then I went through immediate menopause. And sort of that physical weakness combined with the estrogen leaving my body really, 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 that was probably one of the darkest times because I couldn't just like get myself back. Like I physically couldn't do yoga. I couldn't do all the things I'm used to doing that just like make me feel better. So it was like this exhaustion that was happening. And yeah, that was a really, really tough time. I'd say it took probably just over a year to start feeling strong in my body again after that experience with the radiation and all of that. But once I came back from that, my give a fuck just dropped. Like,
Yeah.
just fell out. I was just like, do you know, there's all of this stuff I've been all worried about. It's not even that I consciously don't give a fuck. It doesn't live in my brain anymore. Like it literally does not sit in my brain. And it's a gift now, but I have to watch it because sometimes I can be even more curt, more passionate, more strong-willed than I was even when we were first getting to know each other. It's I have to temper that a bit just to make sure that I'm still being kind to people, which is my number one value, is to always be kind. But yeah, but now getting to live by the sea, it's sort of like there's this release. Like I've just done this thing. I've treated myself to live the way that I want to live and have the lifestyle I want to live.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you're there, both you and your
Yeah.
wife, especially with the service that you gave to the community and that you both are finding that. And you're both were like
Yeah.
walking and be like, well, hey, I want to be here. I want to be here.
Exactly.
You're like, okay.
Exactly. It was sort of like when you're going like, do you want pasta for lunch? And the other one goes, I do want pasta for lunch. But it was like this monumental decision to move
I
quite
love
far
it.
away from all
Oh,
the
I
roots.
love it. Oh, I love it. That is so beautiful. As we're getting ready to close out, I want to ask you, what if someone's listening right now and struggling to show up as themselves, what would you say to them?
I think it's a really hard question to answer because I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to perform, and that's a question that sits outside of ourselves, right? So like showing up as yourself and sort of implies that there's an external to you that's judging you and deciding which version of yourself that you get to be. And while I think you have to contend with that all the time, we always have to kind of contend with opinions and stuff like that. I do think that if you're able to sit with yourself, and this is kind of why I talked about social media a little bit, I think that your imagination and your thoughts and your brain and giving your brain space to kind of think and to process and get grounded in yourself, whichever way you do that. It might be a walk on the beach. It might be yoga. It could actually be going and having a couple pints. Whatever your brain needs to feel curious, to be imaginative, I think that helps root you back into the earth and it becomes
Yes,
easier to show up as yourself. So I don't have any like quick tips and
that
tricks
was
from
good.
that. I haven't always done it very well. You know, sometimes I've pushed too hard, like show up more of yourself, or you don't feel like you can show up as yourself. So you're going to start blaming everyone around you. And it could be that you're in a really toxic environment that you just need to get out of. But spending a little bit of time with yourself so that your curiosity activates again, your imagination
Yes.
activates again, it's so grounding. You just go like, ah,
Yeah.
this doesn't matter.
Hmm.
I can be
Yeah.
me. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about all that judgment
Yeah.
because I have this wonderful brain that lets me think whatever I want to think, problem solve how I want to problem solve.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your brilliant self with us and your vulnerability and all your sage wisdom. And thank you for being you and making such an imprint on so many people in this world.
Oh, thank you, Lori. It's been a real pleasure to see you. I hope we don't leave it this long again before we chat.
Oh, no, hey,
Like,
we're gonna have a
come
beer.
visit. Come visit.
Hey, we've got an office out there now. We have a London
Brilliant.
office, so yes, you know it. Well, it was good seeing you. Thank you. There's something powerful about conversations like this because they remind us that identity isn't something we check at the door, it's something we carry with us, shape, and ultimately learn to own. This is Storytime with Lori. Real life, real conversations, real growth. Until next time, keep becoming.